I have forgotten more names of corals than I currently remember. The obvious solution is to start labeling everything, so I started on a bit of a craft project. I don't know how helpful this is going to be for many of you, but I know that some of you have grow-out tanks or even a decent-sized propagation setup of your own. Hopefully this is something that can get your frags a little bit more organized. Here at Tidal Gardens we have thousands of different varieties, and some of them change color quite drastically from season to season, so labeling definitely should help. What is important in a labeling system is something that I could just place into an open slot in a frag tray, so I can quickly glance at the names rather than kind of rack my brain trying to remember which orange and green zoanthid that this particular one was. Coral frag trays move around quite a lot here from tank to tank, so the labels have to be able to move with the corals. I can't just scribble on the glass with a Sharpie pen. The material is important because there's a surprising amount of plastic that floats in salt water, such as polypropylene. It's for this reason that I decided to go with acrylic. The thing is, I don't have a ton of equipment here to cut acrylic up. For example, I can't really go out and buy a sheet of it and then cut it into small pieces. Luckily, I was able to find half-inch square acrylic rods, so the only cut that I had to do was a single half-inch cut, and I would have a piece of acrylic to stick the label onto. Now I can't cut sheets, but I can sure as heck cut a half-inch rod. To do this, I decided to work with what I have, and that's a Griffin bandsaw. It made the cut very nicely. I didn't run any water through it when I made these cuts, but my father did a few later with water, and he thought it worked better than not having any type of fluid cooling. Okay, this is what I ended up with. It's basically a bunch of Jenga blocks. We have a grinder that I could have used to make the ends more straight and smooth, but I really didn't care too much about how straight these things were, because with the amount of flow in the tanks, there's pretty much a 0% chance that any of these would be standing straight up for very long. Next up, getting these onto a plug. For corals, I grow everything now on ceramic plugs. I like how clean they are, and things grow nicely on them. Attaching acrylic to a ceramic plug, however, won't work out too great, so I found these acrylic plugs so I can use some weld-on to glue the rod down onto this. The sizes and quantities worked out incredibly well. The rod comes in 72-inch lengths, and the acrylic plugs come in bags of 24, so I can get 24 3-inch segments, which is exactly the size I was looking for the labels. This is the exact opposite of like hot dogs and hot dog buns, where there's like 8 of one and 12 of the other or something. The label itself has to be pretty rugged, because if I just wrote on a piece of plastic, eventually the marker wears off, especially if the label has to be cleaned off as algae grows on it. I went with an old school plastic label maker for this job, and I think it both looks great while making it very durable. They have an adhesive back, so hopefully the glue doesn't disintegrate underwater. Now if it does down the line, I'll just use super glue or something, but it seems like a pretty strong bond, so I'm not really too worried about it. The only thing is I have to punch out one letter at a time, which can get a little tedious, and it really makes me appreciate copy and paste. Or just print for that matter. Anyhow, that pretty much does it for these labels. It's already helping me out at the greenhouse, and if I bring on someone new to help pack corals, for example, this sort of thing would be a good thing for them, as it would make learning what all the different corals are that much easier. Anyhow, I hope you liked the video, and please share in the comments below if you've done something similar to keep track of all of your frags. Thanks again.